What's happening, friends? Welcome back to Dynamo DeFi. My name is Patrick, and on this channel I talk about cryptocurrency, decentralized finance, and economics. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about the topic that is on everyone in crypto's mind, and that is the Bitcoin dip that's going on right now, and really just the dip across the entire crypto market, because most altcoins are actually down by quite a bit more than Bitcoin. And I don't usually do technical analysis, so I'm not going to try to predict when Bitcoin bottoms, but I'll talk about my thoughts on some of the factors that went into this dip, my strategy moving forward, and then some projects that I'll be looking at potentially picking up or adding more of to my portfolio once we have confirmation of a bottom. So first off, what happened, right? And every time I make a video on this channel, I always say, I talk about decentralized finance and economics. And the reason for that is that when I first made this channel, my plan was to do a video or two a week about macroeconomics, because my degree is in econ. But then the crypto stuff took off. But today I'm actually going to talk about econ a little, because a lot of this dip actually goes beyond just crypto, and a lot of this has to do with sort of world conditions that are just spilling over into crypto. And so, as far as I can tell, there's really two things going on. First is I'll say two things, but a third one that's kind of related. So the first one is that a lot of people are expecting the Federal Reserve to hike interest rates. And, whether you think that's true or not, sometimes these things depend on people's personal decisions. So they're tough to predict, but a lot of people are expecting that, and that's causing people to de-risk across the entire market. And so you can see, for example, this partially has to do with performance, but this is Netflix stock. And you can see this is a weekly time frame. So 1 week. This week was just horrible for Netflix. And really this whole month, it's down from $600 now to under $400. It's around where it was before COVID started and everyone went home and started watching Netflix on TV. So it's basically erased almost 2 years of gains in the span of a couple weeks. And let's see, here's the NASDAQ. So this is the NASDAQ, also had a horrible week. In really the past few weeks have just been very bad. Again, well, this time it erased basically 6-7 months of gains just in the span of 3 weeks. And that's quite dramatic for stock market. And then even the S&P 500, which is generally less volatile because it's not as many growth stocks, is down a lot over the past week. That's a pretty big drop. And part of that's from the interest rate hikes. And part of that is because people are worried that there's going to be a war in Europe. And I don't know if anyone can predict whether that happens or not, but that's causing some people to de-risk. And when these institutions de-risk, they sell tech stocks or other growth stocks. And then if they happen to have crypto, then crypto is the most high growth, the most volatile, the riskiest investment. And so, of course, if you de-risk, that means selling off crypto. And my assessment is that that's basically a big part of what's going on. People are de-risking, and because crypto is just the highest risk, highest growth category, it gets hit harder than other categories. And now this is compounded by the fact that very high leverage is very common, and it's largely unregulated in crypto. So you have people who let's be frank, probably don't have proper risk management because for whatever reason, and they're trading with 3, 4, 5, 10, sometimes even 100x leverage, and then they get liquidated. So you see liquidation cascades like we had here, where this is a 1 hour candle where it just drops by a lot. And you have those every now and then because people start to get liquidated. And then you get a candle like that where in 1 hour it drops by $2,000. And this is part of the reason why I always say to be very conservative with leverage. I never use it for trading. Occasionally I borrow stable coins if I can earn an interest rate on them, and then use that to repay the loan. But in general, I think there's lots of ways to earn enormous returns in crypto without using leverage. because stuff like this happens, right? Sometimes these strategies work until they don't. And so, what is my thought on this overall? So first thought is, when this happened over the past day, I will say that even though if you watch my portfolio videos, I keep around 30% in stable coins. So I'm perfectly comfortable in terms of like my portfolio value. I did feel almost a little bit of sorrow or grief. It was like, even though it's just money, at the end of the day, it does feel like, you'd put a lot of work into that and then it can just disappear in a second. So it's very humbling and always a good reminder why it's always good to keep some stable coins in your portfolio. And if you didn't, you can just remember this is a lesson for next time. The other thing I'll say is that, the real gains, the real wealth is earned in a bear market or bearish periods. People who stuck around in the summer after the May crash, and the May crash played out differently for a number of reasons than this, but the people who stuck around then, almost any coin you bought over the summer, not all of them, but almost all of them were up by several multiples in the fall. And I think if we continue to dip here and eventually we find a bottom, I suspect there'll be similar opportunities for the next time things turn bullish again. So please stick around, continue to learn, continue to research, because that's when you really make money. If you joined in the fall, this was just the training wheels period, and then this is when you're ready to actually ride the bicycle of trading or investing in crypto. As far as my personal strategy, I did a video a little bit back about my strategy in a bear market for yield farming. I'll be earning passive income on stable coins and eventually dollar cost averaging those in once we have sort of found support. I'll also be accumulating blue chip cryptocurrencies and earning passive income on those. Some of these I'm still holding from when we're up, and unless something changes, I'll continue to hold them. And then I'll use the yield from that as well as other income to acquire high growth projects. So building positions and small DeFi projects that I believe have a lot of potential to grow and really boost the portfolio in the future. And I am still holding a few of these that I've added to my portfolio recently. When I add things, I usually add them for the long term, so I don't like to sell right away. And that's basically my strategy in a nutshell. As far as what I'm looking at, because I know people are interested. So there are several projects that I'm looking at, and once we sort of either have another large dip or once we find some support, because right now, to be honest, right now I'm still holding things that I was holding before the dip, but I'm holding off buying at this point, because usually when these things dip, they don't just go down then back up. It took us a while to get down to 36K. We're not just going to go back to 50K, 60K right away. And so I'm going to look to see that things settle down a little and then start dollar cost averaging in. But so the first category that I'll be looking at is layer ones. So layer ones typically do very, very well in a bull market. So we had AVAX did extremely well over the past 6 months. We had Luna did extremely well, and others too. Phantom. So some that I'll be looking at accumulating. Luna's in a nice dip, around 40% down from all-time high. AVAX is down more than 50% from all-time high. So I may look at some AVAX. Some other ones that are interesting to me. Near's down quite a bit. Phantom has been getting a lot of attention recently. I've been covering it, so I'll be watching this one. And some others that are further down here that I like are Oasis. I'm not sure where that is, if it's still in the top 100, but Oasis Rose is interesting. They have a privacy-based paradigm coming out soon. Maybe either I missed it or it dropped out of the top 100. I'm not sure. But I'll be looking at that one, and then I'll be looking at Juno Network. That's also out of the top 100. So I'll be looking at those layer ones, as well as any other layer ones that start to show interesting things. So these ones, I'm not saying I'm buying them yet, but I'll be looking to see whether they have developers building new projects on it and whether they have interesting things coming onto their network. One of the best heuristics you can use is if an application is useful to you, it's probably useful to other people. And in most of my best investments personally, that's how I found them. Because, for example, AVAX, I tried it over the summer and I said, this is just such an easy, good experience that it feels like how Ethereum ought to be. And And it turned out other people ended up feeling the same way. A similar thing about Terra Station, which was useful for other reasons. And so I'll be looking at those, and I think layer ones will be a very good bet in the future. Another narrative that I'm investing in heavily, and this one I'm probably going to look at even more than layer ones, to be honest, is interoperability. There's been a lot of talk lately about we have all these chains, you need to have protocols to connect them. And I think that's going to continue to be a major narrative and major need in the future. And you even have Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, saying that he sees a cross-chain future or multi-chain future. I forget exactly which term he used. But given that, I don't see that narrative stopping. So I'm looking at the entire Cosmos ecosystem. I really like Cosmos. It's my largest investment right now. And I'm invested in other Cosmos ecosystem projects like Osmosis and Juno. So if we continue those ones have actually held up pretty well. But I'll definitely be looking to add some more of those. Another interoperability protocol that people don't talk about is Avalanche. Avalanche, most people just think it's the one chain. They also have subnets, and they just launched one of their first subnets that I'm in now 1 or 2 days ago. Basically, it's a way to claim they call it a space, but it's almost like a username slash plate, almost like a website slash username that belongs to you, and it's stored on this AVAX subnet. So, and this one's kind of a fun proof of concept, but there's going to be, I think, a lot of other interesting subnets come out that have really, really important use cases. So that's one to watch for interoperability. Another one that's much smaller is Octopus Network. This one I consider to be more of a high growth because it's so small, but this also is an interoperability protocol that's built on top of Near. So for building application-specific blockchains. And this is definitely one I'll be watching to see whether they can gain adoption. I mean, nothing really compares to Cosmos right now. Maybe Polkadot will soon, but Cosmos just has so many large chains built on it. Terra, Secret, Juno, Osmosis, and more. But I'll be watching to see whether Octopus can start to get their own network of chains going. And another one that people don't talk about as much lately, although it's still one of the top cryptos and it's important to every DeFi app, and that is Chainlink. Chainlink does the price for pretty much every DeFi app, and they also have other information like weather data that they've brought in. And then they have something called their CCIP that's expected to come out in 2022, and that will enable cross-chain smart contracts, which is sort of one of the holy grails of cryptocurrency and could be one of the most important use cases in crypto. So I may look at re-entering Chainlink. I'm not in it at the moment. And that's sort of what I'm looking at for interoperability. And then finally, I'll be looking at some small DeFi projects. So my focus for these will be things that drive adoption. Last time things were bearish over the summer, the first thing that we really saw to take off was Axie Infinity. And the reason Axie Infinity took off was because it was driving huge mass adoption of play-to-earn gaming and cryptocurrency in general in the countries where it was popular, specifically the Philippines. And it had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people using it at some point. So I'll be looking for DeFi projects because my focus is DeFi that either are or have the potential to do the same thing. So in particular, I think that projects that let you store wealth and manage stablecoins properly will probably bring a lot of people into the space because people may not want to speculate on things that can fluctuate, 10 to 30% in one day, like a lot of coins are today. But they may want to earn 5 to 20% interest on their coins. So some things I'll be looking at for that is Terra Luna. That's not really a low cap DeFi project anymore, but Terra still has some nice applications for that. I'm also interested in Spell, Abracadabra, FXS or Frax Shares is a really interesting stablecoin project, and it has some good revenue coming in. And then I'll be following to see which other new ones start to emerge and gain traction, because sometimes these things you just have to watch and see what narratives emerge. And then the final thing I'll be doing once things settle down is just seeing what the next narrative is and then which coins fall into it. I mean, I don't think anyone, well, not anyone, some people did, but very few people expected NFTs to lead the bull run starting in the late summer. Very few people did. And I doubt that anyone can fully predict what's going to happen what's going to lead the way when things turn bullish again. So I'll be watching to see what happens. And that's pretty much all I got. to recap, this is largely macro conditions. Bear markets are where wealth is made. And personally, I'm going to be looking to acquire layer ones, interoperability protocols, and small DeFi projects that can drive mass adoption. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter. And until next time, this is Dynamo DeFi.